What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. And I have one more movie for you all to check out this holiday season before Christmas wraps up here in 2024 as we head into 2025, and it is called A Very Flattened Christmas.
This Christmas, motherfucker, watch it.
So I did the video Curtains for Christmas, which has been making its rounds on the internet with a few people, and a gentleman by the name of Keaton Toothman reached out to me and wanted me to check out A Very Flattened Christmas. So I don't have a whole lot of background information other than what he sent me in a very short excerpt and the screener for the video. So I had to do a lot of research on this one to try and get my bearings straight on it. Basically what we have is obviously it's a low budget indie horror comedy film that's Christmas related. I saw rumors of the budget being possibly $30,000. That seems a little high for what we got, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So Keaton reached out, wanted me to do a review for him. So I did a lot of research. I actually watched this movie twice yesterday and then had to do a little bit more web research. And what we're going to talk about is the movie, obviously, and its origins, because I think that's where the movie faltered a little bit, was a lack of context for this zany tale and these characters. So let's dive in. So basically the plot is a masked killer running around killing employees of a roadkill establishment. So they go out, pick up roadkill off the road, which is a real job. And then you have this guy dressed as a reindeer going around and killing its employees. So this movie does have a lot of B-movie charm, everything from the aesthetics to the soundtrack to the color grading. It all screams B-movie, and it works really well. The beauty of that is the movie never takes itself too seriously. So the soundtrack is one thing that should definitely be pointed out because it is a Christmas movie. So there is a Christmas soundtrack, but the Christmas songs always have a little bit of a different take, whether it be in the style of, or possibly a little bit of change in lyrics and whatnot. So I loved the soundtrack with this. The other thing that I really liked as far as Christmas soundtrack type stuff is that anytime that the killer is around, you get to hear jingle bells, not the actual song, but bells jingling. So, and that was kind of a cool thing, gives the audience, it brings you into the movie because you know that the killer's around even though the character does not. So that worked really well. I liked the characters. I liked the acting. As I said, the movie thrives on not taking itself too seriously. So all of the characters and actors involved were, they were overacting a lot. And they seemed to be caricatures of themselves in some senses. And it just worked beautifully with the tone of the movie, that it is kind of a stoner, type movie. It's a stoner comedy wrapped up in a little bit of horror, wrapped up in a little bit of Christmas, and the overacting works really well. And it didn't come off as if it was forced overacting. Everybody seemed like they were really comfortable with what they were doing. Their screen presence was really good, and it just seemed a little natural to be this ridiculous. And it worked so good with the way the movie goes as far as its overall tone. In fact, some of the best acting came from Keaton Toothman himself, who plays Max. And what I liked about Keaton's acting and his character is that when you watch this film, it seems like Keaton is out of place. His acting is a lot more crisp. It's more serious than the rest of the crew. And that's because his character in and of itself, Max, is out of place. Max is somebody that had moved away and has been gone for a while and now comes back because of a funeral for one of his friends that had passed away. And the character himself is out of place. So the character is out of place, which makes Keaton's acting out of place because he's not wrapped up in all of this zaniness that goes on with this roadkill company anymore. He has moved on, he has grown up, he has matured, and that shows throughout this film. So I liked his acting. Another person I really want to point out is Becky Jenik. Becky Jenik, and I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, but she was Jerry Ann, the receptionist. She was an absolute blast to watch. I wish we would have gotten more of her character. Unfortunately, she does come to her untimely demise. But she did a really good job. In fact, she just got, and I want to make sure I say this right, she got Best Actress at the Christmas Film Showcase Festival in New York City last week, so because of this role. So her acting was so fun watching her. She is overacting, and it's just, again, it works so well with the overall tone of the movie that it doesn't seem out of place, and it was perfect. Another shout out I want to say to Trevor Vincent Farney, and again, if I'm saying that wrong or got it wrong, I'm sorry, but he played a character named Dan, and I liked him. He really came off as a TJ Miller type character for me. If you're not familiar with TJ Miller, that was, you know, Deadpool's sidekick in Deadpool 1 and 2. That's TJ Miller. And that's the type of vibe I got with him. And his character worked really well. He's kind of a stoned out, whacked out, conspiracy theory type guy who's trying to wrap all of these murders together. And it almost plays a little bit to the characters in Scream. I believe it was Jamie Kennedy's character, you know, alluding to the fact that, you know, this is playing out, we're all going to die, the sequence, you know, and connecting the dots with everything. So that was pretty cool in and of itself as well. Now, as fun as this movie is to watch, it's not without its problems, and it's a lot of the same type of issues that you get with most low-budget type things. There's a lot of audio and visual type things that are going on that can kind of take you out of the film a little bit. I did talk about the color grading a little bit. So the color grading is good and bad in this film. There's a couple of areas where the color grading works really well. There's a particular scene where there's a gentleman running down the hallway in the hallway, and I don't know if it was painted this way in real life or if they used some overexposure to try and make it seem a little bit brighter, but the hallway seems very green and red, which goes along with the Christmas theme of the film. However, there are some instances where there's some underexposure in areas where it just doesn't look good. That's the only way I can put it. Some of the lighting is a little bit weird, and the audio, there seems to be a lot of audio mixing that was done with this, which basically means that they run their lines and then they would go back and do their lines in an audio fashion and try and dub it into the movie. And some of it works really well. Some of it's very unnoticeable, but there are times where you can tell that the audio mixing, even if it was synced off a little bit, you get a little bit of a dubbing issue where the sound is not matching up with the actual lip movement. And that's kind of a minor thing, and I actually want to applaud them for trying to go that route, because with a lot of low budget films, you don't have any audio mixing, which means you have really bad audio issues where if it's a scene that's shot outside, you can't hear the people talk outside over the gust of the wind or cars driving by. So I appreciate the fact that they tried to get rid of that type of stuff by using this audio mixing technique. It just wasn't executed as crisply as it could have been. You know, some other minor issues with it, obviously, is going to be the environment in and of itself. So I'm pretty confident that this film was shot at a school or a college campus, which is fine, but there's a lot of recycled areas that are used in certain scenes. So you do have a church scene where they're doing the funeral, and then you have the scene again, there's a Christmas party, and it just looks like it was shot in the auditorium or just the gymnasium of this establishment. So there's a lot of stuff that tries to make it look like a church or a Christmas party, but there's a lot of black blank area in the background that kind of takes you out of it. So if it's supposed to be a Christmas movie, it doesn't seem as festive when all of the decorations are just up front and not in the background. So the foreground takes up, you know, makes it try to feel like it's a Christmas movie, but your background is all black, and that kind of takes you out of it a little bit. But I feel like they did the best that they could with what they had. And again, some of the scenes are recycled. That hallway that I talked about earlier, which was green and red, that's used in a couple different areas and not for the same purpose. They're trying to make it look like it's in a different place or taking place in a different area, but you can tell that it's obviously shot in the same spot. Another minor issue that I had with some of the story and plot line was that a lot of the killings unfortunately happen off screen. And while this does help low budget filmmakers avoid running into any type of special effects budget restraints, doing the kills off screen kind of takes you out of the whole killing in and of itself. Now there are a few on-screen kills with some post-editing special effects that were kind of ho-hum. They weren't necessarily bad, but you knew that they were a special effect and didn't look real. And that kind of works with the aesthetic of the film because, again, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but if you're looking for blood and gore, you're not going to get a lot of it except after a post-kill. Overall, this film is a pretty good time to watch, especially if it's one of those things that you want to put on at night, get drunk, smoke some pot, and eat some pizza. This is a perfect movie to watch for just that. Obviously, it does have its issues. In fact, one of its biggest issues is that it doesn't work quite as well as a standalone film. And what I mean by that is that if you go into this movie without any context, you're missing a lot of what this movie is about. So, A Very Flattened Christmas is actually a continuation thereof, and I had to do some research on this in order to put the pieces together, but A Very Flattened Christmas is a continuation of a YouTube series that Keaton Toothman had put together called Flattened, which was a 6-episode YouTube web series that they put together back in 2017. And it has all of the same actors, all of the same characters, and it's kind of like an office type thing. It's just crazy adventures around this office space, and roadkill workers, trying to do the best that they can with what they've got. And that was actually kind of entertaining to watch. Now, if you watch those 6 episodes and then this in the continuation of thereof, the film makes a lot more sense because you get to see a little bit of growth with these characters. But as a standalone feature, this film doesn't work as well, but it does work as a good sequel to that YouTube series called Flattened, which I do highly recommend you guys go check out. Now, the runtime on this is about 1 hour and 31 minutes, and I do feel like if they'd have cut that down a little bit, this actually probably would have worked better as, say, a Christmas episode of that Flattened series, or even as a horror short versus a full-length feature. There does seem to be a lot of filler with the movie to try and get it to that runtime, but overall, as a standalone feature, I'd probably give this about a 5 out of 10. It is a pretty good thing to watch. It is, like I said, if you're going to sit back on Christmas, drink some beer, smoke some pot, eat some pizza, this is a perfect avenue to take. If you want to try and get more context out of this, watch the Flattened series and then this film, and it's going to make a lot more sense to you, and that easily bumps it up into a 6.5, 7.0 range out of 10. So I did like the aesthetics. I love the soundtrack of this film. They have a really good, solid foundation on what this could have been. But I think on the flip side of that, I think this was all done with very much intent and purpose. Keaton knows exactly who the audience was that he was targeting with this. And in that regard, the execution was perfect. If you're looking to reach a broader audience with something like this, it may have missed the mark. But I don't think Keaton was looking for anything that's going to go out and change the world. I think he was trying to make a nod to the Flattened series that he's done, target his audience that he already has established with him. And I do think, and you guys got to watch this in order for you to understand it, but the best thing about this movie, the absolute best thing about this movie, is a cartoon within the movie called Dick Puncher Saves Christmas. And that was absolutely brilliant. That was the best part of this film, which is kind of also a kick in the nuts at the same time, or a punch in the dick, if you will, because you don't want to make something within your movie that's better than your actual movie. So if you're doing a show within your show or a movie within your movie, you don't want that to be better than what you're making. But Dick Puncher was awesome. The trailer for it is on YouTube. Now, it is just a fake trailer, but I would love to see an actual Keaton Toothman production of a Dick Puncher cartoon because it looks great. For one, it really does look great. It's got the same animation style as like Invincible on Amazon Prime. It's hilarious. It's got some guy voicing as Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I don't know if they did it with AI or if they did it with somebody that's really good at doing an Arnold impersonation or voice doubling or whatever, but it was great. So, Dick Puncher, if you're going to watch this movie for anything, watch it for the Dick Puncher cutscenes because they're hilarious. And again, Dick Puncher is like this superhero. It's a DPU. It's the Dick Puncher universe is what they're going to try and work towards. I would love to see a Dick Puncher universe. It is amazing. So, guys, that's it for me. Go look up Keaton Toothman. Go look up Flattened, the YouTube series. Check out A Very Flattened Christmas. It is available on Amazon Prime, so go rent it this holiday season. It's Christmas Eve. Put it on for Christmas Day. Let the kids watch. It'll be a blast to see their reaction, I'm sure. I'll try to leave links in the description below. Like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel. Check out Keaton Toothman on Facebook and YouTube, and I'll see everybody in the next video.
Santa's got a brand new dick bag.
We gotta save Christmas.
You slay me, Dick Puncher. I will turn every child's present into gold.